The van rounded a curve and hit a pothole. Suddenly, Jenny stared into the darkest woods she had ever seen. She remembered the woods, but didn't remember the trees being so thick and tall. No sunlight reached the ground, and a person could disappear just by wandering a few yards from the road. Halfway past the woods, Jenny saw the sign. It was made from an old rough piece of plywood and nailed to a large tree. It was impossible to miss, even in the late afternoon shade. Jenny swallowed hard as she read the huge black lettering.
Beware of the Dogman.
Jenny's mother slowed down and laughed.
I guess Hamilton hasn't changed much. Boys still play pranks.
Jenny hoped it was a prank. If not, what could it mean? She wrapped her arms around Sam's neck and then looked back at the sign.
It had to be a prank. Who ever heard of a Dogman?
Jenny turned away from the woods and buried her face in Sam's fur. She tried to block the awful sign from her thoughts. As they approached their new home, she was glad to see the trees thinned out. But they were still too close to the house and on her only route to school. At bedtime, Jenny found her diary. She stopped writing in it when her dad died because her thoughts were all sad. Right now, she needed a diversion, and her diary would have to do.
This place is supposed to be a whole new life for Mom and me, but I'm so scared. I know life will never be the same as it was in Boston, and I'm afraid we'll never be happy again. Those woods and the sign scare me, and there's nothing I can do about it. What does that sign mean?
Jenny couldn't sleep. Finally, she crawled out of bed and went to the window. She found her star above the oak trees, one brilliant star among thousands of tiny ones. She first noticed the star a few days after her father died. In her imagination, the star was her dad watching over her and her mom. And she looked for it every night until they left Boston. It blinked now, acknowledging her presence. Jenny felt a terrible loneliness for her father. For the first time since he died, she knelt down and said her evening prayers.
Dear God, please watch over my dad and take care of him. And please help me and Mom and Sam be happy here.
For a while, Jenny wondered what others might think if they knew she talked to a star. But she decided it didn't matter. It made her feel close to her dad and safe, knowing he watched over her. And right now she needed that desperately, to know someone was watching over her. Jenny wasn't sure if telling Pete about the white dog was a good idea, but she had to tell someone.
Pete, I saw something last night from my bedroom window. A big white dog came out of the woods and trotted up the road. I always thought Sam was a big dog, but this one was huge, and I've never seen one that white before.
Jenny took a deep breath. She knew Pete wouldn't believe what she was about to tell him.
And then he just faded and disappeared into the fog.
Pete's eyes got big. Sounds like the ghost dog to me, Jenny. Jenny got a spooky feeling, remembering what Pete recently told her about ghost sightings around Hamilton.
Maybe ghosts really do exist, but the thought is a bit scary.
Jenny recognized it as soon as she saw the markers. They were located a few feet apart and handmade from wood. Pete motioned to her, and they moved in for a closer look. The white dog had led them to a pet cemetery. Each marker had a picture encased in plastic, but only one had a name on it. The hair on the back of Jenny's neck stood up as she looked at a picture of the white German shepherd. The name Phantom was printed across the bottom. Must be our ghost dog, Jenny. Jenny stared at the markers and was overwhelmed by sadness.
It's like someone wanted to be sure these animals weren't forgotten. Do you think they were strays, Pete?
Probably, but what I can't figure out is who did this?
But why would a dog cemetery be out here in the middle of the woods?
Not just dogs, Jenny. Look at this one. It's a cat's grave. Sam had disappeared into the woods. Jenny had no idea where to, but suddenly his barking startled her and she whirled around. They could hear more dogs barking not far away. Listen to that, Jenny. Come on, let's find out where it's coming from. Jenny followed Pete, but what she wanted to do was to go home.
This is crazy, and it could be dangerous.